Hello and good morning. I'm Life in Bouquet, and thank you for tuning in for my second video. So today I wanted to talk about our eyes, what we see in this world, and our vision of what we think is success or what we think will bring us happiness. The reason obviously I used a reference to the eyes is because there was a saying that my mom told me when I was a child. Your eyes are always bigger than your stomach. I'm sure a lot of kids heard that growing up. One of the principles that I ended up taking away from that was I've always been a bit too over ambitious. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, and sometimes there are individuals who you may have ambition, but you just don't know how to put pen to paper. Sorry if you can hear the background noise. There are some people mowing their lawn down the ways, but this idea of trying to find success and trying to picture through our human eyes what is success. There are quite a few situations that I've been put in that have questioned my meaning to what I guess success was, or what it looked like, at least. Right now, in today's day and age, I think most of us can see that, and pretty much, I guess, growing up from really, I guess maybe coming up through the 60s, because you had Elvis, who was a bit of, people wanted to be like him. Obviously made amazing music. So we look at the things that, as we go up, I guess, I don't want to say necessarily an idolization, but the idea to disconform from what was the social norms back then. Obviously, there was a lot of bad going on due to segregation and other things. So, obviously there's good change. And then going up into, the 70s, more rock, more psychedelics, things that people used to do back then, things that people obviously still do today. But it allowed for individuals to, I guess, go through, everyone says it, the sexual liberation. And I think that at that point, that's when people started to get a bit jaded and not really understand what was the reason or why we seek pleasure and success and all those things. Obviously you had hippies, you had things like that back then. And then we go into the 80s. We go to through hard rock, and we go and we see, your Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, and those things to kind of rebel, right? It was, big time, especially in music for rap, Public Enemy, Run DMC, individuals who were teaching, to essentially fight the power. We go up into the 90s, and this is where I actually start kind of losing interest in music, because I don't think that a lot of amazing music went into the 2000s and stuff like that. And also, I was born, in the 90s, so I don't know every single song during that time period. The reason I mention all these things is because we have seen, obviously, superstars growing up, and in today's day and age, we see superstars growing up from social media, from whether it be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. There's people who are famous. And I know when I was a little kid, I always thought I would love to play video games for a living. I would love to essentially be, back then there used to be, I think there still is, but back then there was a prominent gaming a competitive gaming company that was Major League Games, that was what I thought was like going to be awesome, be successful, and I get to go play video games. And even in today's day and age, it's even more relevant because you can just hop on and have fun. I'm gonna save the whole computer and the streaming and those things for another segment, because I feel like that deserves its own. When it comes to being addicted to games or having games go too far, so we'll save that for a different point. But the idea of looking for success and seeing like what is and what isn't through our human eyes it brings, we have to bring bring ourselves back to what it really means to succeed. There has been too many moments in my life that I've had pretty much what I wanted. So I don't know if anyone's watched Soul through Disney, but it was a pretty good movie, and it kind of gives you the premise of, even if you die, spoiler alert, sorry, even if you die, I'm sure everyone's already seen that since it's called Soul. But in the movie, the gentleman he wants to be a jazz musician, and then he ends up, or he wants to be a big-time jazz musician. He's been like a low-tier jazz musician, if you want to call it that, really just like a neighborhood jazz musician who goes plays at the bars. And he was playing with a group of people that really wanted to pretty much stay in their community and just be part of their community, right? It was like the smaller things. That's what people say, the smaller things. And he ends up dying, and he tries to get back to his body. So he tries to get his soul back to his body. He goes through a series of unfortunate events, and eventually he gets back to his body, does not die, and he realizes once he gets the opportunity to become big time, and I guess I should have mentioned that in the beginning before he passes, he had an opportunity to become big time. So he comes back, he tries to take that opportunity, and once he actually gets there, he realizes that he is pretty much at a cornerstone of like, is this really happiness, or what did I do this for? Because I feel empty inside, even though I've reached what I perceived as success. And he ends up going back to he ends up realizing that in order for him to be happy, he needs to appreciate the little things in life. There was moments in the movie that they talk about essentially like the birds, the laughter, the happiness that you have, the excitement that you may feel, and those are essentially the smaller things. And it tells you that in biblical scripture. Oh, sorry, we have a hummingbird coming through. We get a lot of them around here. They're actually migrating right now, so they'll be zooming on by. But it tells you throughout scripture in the Bible that you should appreciate those little things, and you should enjoy God's gifts. Obviously, a lot of people want to misconstrue like the way God works and want to say a lot of different things, and we'll get into that in different videos. But the premise of this is that even though he went through his suffering, he went through having to go through the spiritual world in this movie Soul, and throughout life we deal with our suffering. Like I mentioned in the first video, that we cannot go through life without our suffering and without our question for reason. There is there is a fine line between finding success in this world and what I would say is the next, and what biblically speaking would say is the next. Now I know that maybe you've been doubting, maybe that you've felt like God is not with you, or God's not real, or that you just want to try to get through this world and try to think of someone spiritually. I implore you to go and try to understand the true meaning of what Jesus Christ brought to this world, because my story and through my testament of what I've been through should help you understand that even with what we perceive as success will not bring you happiness. Sorry, there's someone over there who is blowing some leaves because it's, fall's coming. But my story, my testament to God and to really like what I guess success may be on this earth is this: I have everything you could want. I guess maybe the only thing I don't have is a pool, but even then, that's not really something that I care for. I'm sure some people really do, but I have been blessed through what God has given me, even though every single day I suffer. So like I had mentioned in my first video, I'm a wounded warrior, and I broke my back in the service. I received a spinal fusion back in 2014, and then right after my spinal fusion, as I was leaving the gates of my base, I was hit by a car from behind, and it left me in I guess the worst vulnerable state that you could possibly be as a human. Realistically, it was my closest feeling that I was to, I guess, death. I was only 24 hours post-op from my spinal fusion, and if anyone knows anything about spinal fusions, or if you want to go look them up, you cannot walk. You are pretty much, I want to say, paralyzed for about 2 days. You literally, to move your legs, you have to put forth so much effort that I remember doing it. And like I said, I joined the Air Force to be a battlefield airman through TACP, and I was in peak physical condition. I had tried bodybuilding before, and also I was a personal trainer at one point. And just to move my leg, it felt as if I was having to deadlift easily 400 to 500 pounds. It felt that the amount of sweat that I had beating down my face after my spinal fusion, trying to walk, because the physical therapist asked me to walk even though I really couldn't. It's part of the healing process, and it's it's partly to make sure that you're not paralyzed after the surgery. So whenever I went through the car accident, I ended up getting sent to the hospital. I was mistreated by the hospital there, and it was just an entire mess. My whole world was completely rocked. From that point on, that's when I went through my episodes of my suicidal tendencies and things that had happened to me. I went through a suicidal episode that I will go through on a different video when I get to the mental health side of things. But after that, it really changed me as a human. It really gave me a different outlook on life, and it made me feel as if, I had this bout with death. So I didn't lose, and that means that I guess I get to have another shot, right? So after hundreds of hours of psychology and psychiatry and years of just, working on myself, I was able to start seeing through the BS, seeing through everything that I had put myself through, all the heartache, all the problems and issues that I was putting myself in, whether it be the anger that I let out to my daughter, to my wife. I've never abused anybody or done anything like that, but my anger used to be a abusive state when I was younger. Coming from an abusive household, it's very hard for a man, especially one that is that I would say myself, I know because I've tested myself, that has higher testosterone. Now that we know so much about the human brain and know more about emotions, I can tell you that for sure the testosterone was rolling through my veins, and it made me angry a lot. I know that my pride and my sin through that pride led me to be a womanizer. It led me to be an arrogant kind of fool. And those are things that us as men, we can say that it's okay that we've gone through these things. It's the whole premise of what they say toxic masculinity is, and understand that phrase does not represent you. That phrase is very insensitive, but we have to understand that people in this world do not care very much for men. And that's just the bottom line. So that's why I want to make these videos and help men and help you understand, and like I said, help women understand where we come from. Because unless someone speaks up and says something, we'll never know. In many situations, there are going to be times where a man can be they can be a terrible human being. That's why there's a lot of men in jail. People murder people, and that comes from anger. That comes from pride. Shoot, I was watching Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, and I like going back and watching 80s and 90s movies. And there's a point where at the very end of the movie, spoiler alert, that someone ends up getting killed because of a radio. Now, I understood the premise behind it, but to me, when I saw it, even though I had been judged, and people who've seen the movie will know that it's a racially obviously driven movie, and through the issues that were going on back then in the 80s with police brutality and so on and so forth, through racism. And when I watched it, I've dealt with racism personally. I've had people call me spick, call me beaner, call me wetback. I've had people talk about my moms, obviously the whole rice and beans, everything you can think of, and I've dealt with, when I was in the military, it wasn't the military per se, but it was the location of the bases. If anyone has been on a military installation, you'll know that a lot of the times the military bases aren't located around the nicest areas. They go for, cheap land, and essentially they use the people around them for kind of cheap labor. It's a business strategy, and they know that in order for the local environment to survive, they have to kind of support the military. It's pretty messed up, but it's a way kind of like the world works, especially here in the United States. Now, this gosh, I just feel like I forgot my thought. But going back to the idea of viewing success and understanding what we see as it. there is this life that I'm living right now, guys, is honestly amazing. I'm 27. I retired at 26. I was going through mad depression, mad suicidal thoughts, crazy, psychotic thoughts. And there were other things. There were outliers that did help me. Like I say, I do medical cannabis, and I do quite a few. I take quite a few times to self-meditate and just kind of calm down and breathe. And I understand that a lot of people don't have that luxury. You don't have the ability to have medical cannabis for your issues, and you don't have you may not have the time to be able to sit down and think. But I implore you to please try to take the time to at least work out, because your health is pretty much everything nowadays. And also try to do a little bit of meditation. Try to pray. Try to just bring yourself back and see that, we have to take the time. If it means shutting off the games and doing whatever it is, do it. Turn off your phone. I do not like social media, and that's another video that we'll make. It's obviously, I think, the bane of this world nowadays. But that comes to the whole idea of it. When we look at success, don't judge yourself based on these people who are willing to sell themselves and not speak their mind. And I understand that not everyone wants to speak their mind, and people may not have the I guess drive to want to change people, but they want people to look at them. They're kind of, to me, they're kind of blind. It's really looking at it and you trying to be for yourself has been essentially the downfall of man. It's been the downfall. Look back at history and you see it. There has been so many situations where when you look at yourself, it's literally, I just thought of something. There's a Michael Jackson song, the whole Man in the Mirror. You have to self-reflect. You have to look at yourself and think, what am I doing to help the world? What am I doing to have success in my life? And honestly, I truly believe that if you come to God and you say, I'm willing to stop doing bad things, and I'm willing to be real with myself, you can feel true success in yourself, not even having to show it to other people. You can find it in yourself. You can have self-worth, self-confidence through your success. I know that you might think you can't, but I promise you can. And that if I was there with you, I could help you. And that I'm here and I want to help you. So I ask you to please give me your questions. Try to sit down and meditate. If you have, if you're not feeling like you can continue, and you feel as if your hope is lost, I ask you and I pray for you. And I tell you that your life has meaning. There is a purpose. There is a reason. And also that for you to find true happiness, you need to implement God in your life. You need to have it, especially if you want a good relationship. Anything good in your life will come through God. I can promise you that. There have been too many people that we've seen, celebrities that have had everything, and then they commit suicide. Millions of dollars, and then they kill themselves. So realize that even me, myself, I'm an average individual on this earth. But I was given money, I was given power. I was given good looks. I was given a pretty good physique, especially before my surgery. And even now, I try to continue to work out to the most of my capability, even though I still have these metal screws and rods in my back. And I have, I mean, you want a game system? I have it. There's nothing that I don't have. Best graphics card? I have it. Best screen for it? I have it. You guys out there who want something, maybe you've wanted something your whole life, I probably have it. There's a good possibility that I do. And that's not to brag, but that's to tell you that even with everything, there were still, and even to this day, right now, like maybe not right now because I've been coming to God a lot more and I've been able to see through a lot of the BS that my brain puts me through, but that it all that stuff, you will still want to kill yourself. You may still want to be depressed. You may still want to be in your feelings. And you know what really sucks is when you have it all and you don't have anyone to share it with. Now, luckily, I'm married. So for me, I do have someone to share it with. And I know a lot of you out there don't have someone to share it with. So that's why I want to tell you that you can do it. I haven't always had somebody, but I'm telling you that God can be that somebody for you. God can help you. Obviously, He wants you to find your true love, and that's where you have to accept God, and He will allow you to. Most people in today's day and age, we need to find love in ourselves, and then we can love other people. That's pretty much my message for today. I thank you for coming out, guys, and I want to try to keep putting out these videos. I know that there will be a time where maybe I have to obviously like take a break or do whatever, but honestly, I just want to keep doing these videos as almost journals or just a little bit of a message, because I know that there's been many times that I've been on YouTube and I've randomly clicked on somebody's image, or I've clicked on somebody's old profile, and maybe the videos could be literally years old and I'll still watch them. I want to see, what did this person put out there back then? And maybe someone will see this and I may not get any views and I might make 100 videos, but maybe one day someone might see this and it may save their life, or it may help them understand why God does what He does. I thank you. Please come and join me again, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.